Canadian canola farmers are feeling the blow of Chinese tariffs. China slapped a duty of nearly 76% on canola seed. This came into effect last Thursday. That's in addition to the 100% tariff on canola oil and canola meal imposed this March. China's move is seen as a response to Canada's tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. So far, the federal government has not announced any help for canola farmers.
This is not a choice between one or the other. The question is, we will be there to support our canola industry. We will be there to support our farmers. And I know that the Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture have been working together to address this issue.
Scott Moe is the Premier of Saskatchewan. Welcome, Premier. Let's start with this nearly 76% tariff on canola seed that's hitting right before harvest. How significant is that compared to the magnitude of the previous 100% tariff already underway from China on canola oil and meal, that tariff that hit in March?
I would say it's extremely significant because it's additive to everything that is in place right now. Listen, our largest market for canola oil seed and meal is the United States of America. Our second largest market is China. We have, uncertainty at the very least, and 100% tariffs on oil and meal going into China now. And now this is added to that. It's not in place. It's added to that. So it's very, very significant to producers, to exporters, and I would say to Canadians as a whole in an industry that employs 200,000 people.
So Beijing, of course, they claim that this is the result, that they're doing this because Canada is dumping cheap canola into their market. That's not obviously what's widely believed to be the reason, but what do you make of their claim?
Well, it's not the reason. But what we need to do is, as a province, and I would say as a nation, is to sit down with the leaders in China and to forge a path forward, not only for the canola industry, or not even only for the ag industry or the seafood industry as well as impacted by some of these tariffs, but I think for our broader trade relationship with China. China is a growing market. It's often a premium market, and they're increasing the things that they buy. And, as we diversify, some of our additional production away from maybe places like the United States, China needs to be a viable option. And so we need to be in China. I've committed to going in the next number of weeks. I'm inviting the Prime Minister and federal ministers along, as ultimately, if we are going to advance that conversation, it needs to be a nation-to-nation conversation, and we would be there in a supportive role.
Well, I presume that part of that conversation will be about what the real reason is, if that conversation happens, and that is Canada's tariff, 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. And Melanie Joly, the industry minister, says that support for electric vehicles and canola is not a choice between one or the other. So what's your sense of, if you were to have conversations with China and the Prime Minister was going to be there, about the government's urgency to help canola farmers when it has to also think about the other industries that are tied up in this?
Yeah, and they also have to, the federal government has to represent what is creating wealth for Canadians and what is employing 200,000 Canadians today, and that's the canola industry. It's a $45 billion industry, dwarfing any semblance of an EV industry that we have. And listen, with respect to whether it's the EV conversation or what that might be, we need to be sitting in front of our trading partner in China, advancing the whole of the conversation on what we are going to have with respect to market access for ag products, for other products as well, moving forward. And EVs and the 100% tariff that we put on, and to really align us with U.S. trade policy. I think we're all aware of that. That's a card. That is a card that we, as Canadians, will have to look at some point in time, quite likely. But that isn't the only card that we have. Saskatchewan and Canada are, long-term, sustainable, reliable suppliers of a number of different products, not just canola seeds, oil, and meal to China. So we need to get there. We need to at least start the conversation. Right now, these tariffs are temporary, and we can't let them become permanent without getting in front of the Chinese leaders and the Chinese government. So I'm asking the federal government to engage in that nation-to-nation conversation, and committing to going myself to support that conversation happening.
In terms of other premiers also calling for action, Manitoba Premier Canoe wants Ottawa to use the money that, even if it's a temporary tariff, but the money from the Chinese EV tariff that we have on to help canola producers with monetary and other supports. Is that something you would get behind as well?
Well, we have to be very careful because there's direct and indirect actions that can happen. And our largest trading partner is the United States of America, and we need that market as well. And so we have to be, sensitive and aware to what any indirect, consequences or action of financial supports may be in this space. I would say that if we can gain market access to both the United States and China for our canola products, and no support would be needed. And that's our primary goal right now. We have likely a 6 or 8 week window where this tariff is a temporary tariff in China. I think we should do our level best to have it removed, use the cards that we have to ensure that we're, engaging in that conversation to have it removed, and then there won't be any support that is necessary. We'll have market access. That's what canola producers want, what exporters want, and I would hope that's what Canadians want as well.
Now, last week, the show talked to the Canadian Canola Growers Association. Rick White, the CEO, said that this is a political problem that requires a political solution, that going through the whole WTO process is not quick enough to deal with this. Do you have any hope that this could be resolved quickly and these will be short temporary tariffs as opposed to long-standing ones? He pointed to the barley situation in Australia, and that went on for 3 years. So what are your hopes there?
I agree with Rick, and that's all the more reason for politicians to find their way to China and to make every effort. And I don't know how it'll turn out, but make every effort to have the conversation with a significant trading partner of ours, in particular when it comes to the conversation around the canola space. I would hope, and I think they'd be receptive if the Prime Minister was to show up with a Premier or two, supporting Canada's position. And I'd hope we'd be able to advance the conversation to, a place that's good for everyone. That's my hope. We'll deal with things as they transpire. But, I firmly believe we have 6 to 8 weeks here to, make an impression and at least make an attempt to represent Canadians and represent 200,000 Canadians that work directly in the canola industry, and many more indirectly.
Do you have any sense from the Prime Minister? Have you heard from the Prime Minister on whether he's open to such a trip?
Yeah, we've been engaged with not only Prime Minister Carney, but his Parliamentary Secretary, Cody Blah, the Minister of Agriculture, and a number of other ministers, not only on the China file, trade file, but also the United States of America trade file, as they are linked, as we can see with some of the political consequences. In particular, I think in Saskatchewan, we're seeing that. They've been engaged, and I commend the Prime Minister for prioritizing and meeting with the Prime Minister of China and finding his way to ultimately the meeting that has to happen, which is President Xi. And we want to do everything we can to, further prioritize and intensify the efforts for that meeting to happen in the next number of weeks. It needs to happen in the next number of weeks in order, for us to find a path forward with our second largest trading partner when it comes to our province. And I think a trading partner where there's additional opportunities in the future for all Canadians.
Premier Moe, thank you very much for your time today.
Hey, thank you, Karina. I appreciate it.